Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Max Velocity weather forecast. And in today's forecast, we'll be breaking down multiple large storms that'll be impacting the United States over the next couple of weeks. And these are going to bring lots of problems, including multiple winter storms that'll lead to very heavy snowfall in parts of the United States. And additionally, we're going to be watching for the threat of severe weather for the first time in multiple weeks that'll be impacting part of the country with damaging winds and tornadoes. And there will also be multiple cool downs over the next couple of weeks. I'll be giving you the latest breakdown on everything that you need to know in this forecast, and let's begin first with what's happening in the United States right now that'll lead to these large storms. And we'll begin with our first storm that's ongoing right now in the United States, and that's currently back down in the southeast quadrant, and this is currently impacting the Dixie Alley, and this is going to be continuing to bring some showers and some thunderstorms throughout the day today. The good news with this is that there's not going to be any severe weather, and this storm overall, as it continues to move to the east, is not really going to bring many more impacts to the United States other than just some rainfall. That's basically about it for the southeast and the mid-Atlantic region. But behind this is going to be our first of multiple large storms that'll be impacting the country over the next couple of weeks, and we currently have one that's over in California right now. This has been bringing some snowfall, some rained areas in California, Nevada, Oregon, as well as Washington, and it's continuing to really just slowly move to the east. It's not really doing much right now, but as we start to go closer to the weekend, this thing is going to start to race off to the east, and we're going to be watching for the threat of severe weather and as well as a winter storm threat out of this particular storm. And then behind this storm is going to be another large storm, and that large storm is actually going to probably be worse than the one that we're going to be seeing closer to the weekend. So there's a lot of things to break down in this forecast, and again, make sure you subscribe to the channel because it's going to be a wild ride over the next several days with multiple large storms that'll be impacting the country. Now let's first begin with the jet stream and talk about the weather pattern that'll be impacting the United States over the upcoming weeks. And again, this is the jet stream, the European model, and again, right now we have a trough that's located back down over near Arkansas that is going to be moving through the Dixie Alley today. Here's your other storm that is currently beginning to develop over California, and then we have a little ridge that's in place right now across the Rocky Mountains, but that's not going to last very long. And notice what happens as we go into Thursday into Friday. That low pressure system begins to move into the southern plains. What we will have to be watching for with this is the potential for some snow going into Thursday night across parts of the central and southern plains. Additionally, some showers and storms will be possible. I'm not ruling out a severe weather threat with this storm. I don't think it's going to be nearly as high as what we'll see though with the next storm that'll be coming early next week. And again, we'll talk about that here in just a second. And then once we go into Saturday into Sunday, notice that low pressure system. It'll move off to the north and east through the Midwest. It doesn't mean that we're going to be seeing much in the Midwest though. More than anything, in the upper levels, that's where that's going. But near the surface, this low pressure system is actually going to go right closer to the New England area. And what we're going to be watching for there is the potential for a winter storm that could bring upwards of a foot of snow in some areas in the Northeast, including Pennsylvania, New York, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, etc. Basically anywhere in the Northeast, there does have a chance of some very heavy snowfall as we head closer to the weekend. Then once we get closer to early next week, that low pressure system moves through the Northeast, and then watch for this as we get closer to Monday. A much stronger and larger storm is likely to develop as we get closer to Monday and Tuesday of next week. This obviously on the jet stream has very strong upper level winds, and this is going to be really a problem in my opinion. I think we're going to see a pretty large storm as we go into early next week. This will bring a ton of problems, including severe weather and the threat of a winter storm, and as well as very high winds with this, since it's just going to be such a large low pressure system. We'll be talking about more on this again in just a few seconds. Now, so with that being said, let's talk more about the future radar and put these storms into motion with the precipitation and what we're exactly going to be seeing and who's going to see severe weather, who's going to see a winter storm, and all that sort of stuff. So beginning with today, again, we have some showers and storms right along the Gulf Coast. Nothing crazy. Again, I'm not really expecting much of any severe weather today. Once we go into Thursday, things will dry out a little bit, maybe a little bit of snow back up into the Northeast. That is not a winter storm. That's maybe a little bit of flurries to maybe an inch of snow if you're lucky. Again, nothing too crazy there. Now, once we go closer to Friday, that's when things change a lot. So Thursday night into Friday morning, we're going to be watching for our first large storm to develop back down in the southern and central plains. And there's going to be a lot of different aspects to this storm that we need to watch for, one of which will be the snow potential that'll be riding right across the Rocky Mountains into Kansas. The Oklahoma and Texas Panhandle will be watching for some snowfall once we go into the overnight hours Thursday into Friday morning, and that'll lead to a few inches of snow, and I'll show you what that looks like in terms of the snowfall accumulation in just a moment. Now, on the eastern side of this trough, we'll have showers and storms. I don't foresee a whole lot of severe weather out of this. If we see any severe weather going into Friday, that would be right along the Gulf Coast. Coast. And even then, I'm not really foreseeing a huge severe weather threat here. I think it's going to be a marginal, maybe a slight risk with some damaging winds, perhaps an isolated tornado. Now, notice as we go throughout Friday afternoon, the winter storm threat of this system just goes away. We don't really have any snow left. But wait a second, that's not going to last long, because as we go into Saturday, look what's going to happen. It's actually going to redevelop on the northern side of this trough once we go into Saturday afternoon. And notice over in Virginia, and as well as back into Pennsylvania, that is where snow is going to begin to ramp back up. And notice some of these darker blues. That means some heavy snowfall is going to start to ramp up in parts of Virginia, West Virginia, back through Pennsylvania. And it's really going to ramp up a lot more as we go into late Saturday night to Sunday morning. Notice as this low pressure system strengthens off coast, we are going to be watching for some heavy snowfall riding right into the northeast, including New England. This could even impact areas like Boston, Massachusetts, or back into, Hartford, Connecticut, for example. Those areas will be under the gun for some heavy snowfall as we go into Saturday night into Sunday morning. The one thing to note, though, is that this is going to be a pretty quick moving system, so we're not probably going to see significant snowfall accumulation, as in like 3 to 4 feet of snow. We're not talking about a full-blown blizzard that's going to be, historic. This would be more of like maybe a foot of snow in some areas, but a lot of areas will probably see between about, maybe 4 to 10 inches of snow. That'll probably be the main range here in the northeast. And then notice as we go into Monday, things start to clear out. A little clipper system in the Great Lakes will bring some light snowfall. Then once we go into late Monday, it gets really crazy. We're going to be talking about a very large storm stretching from the Gulf Coast back into the central and northern plains. And this is going to be even larger than the first one that we're talking about this weekend, because notice showers and storms across areas in the central and southern plains. On the flip side, we have a large area of snow that'll likely be a winter storm as we go into Monday, and that'll be impacting areas stretching from New Mexico back into Iowa and South Dakota. Notice as we go into late Monday night into Tuesday morning, this low pressure system gets larger and even stronger, and it'll be bringing the potential for heavy snowfall to the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and as well as the Northeast. The question still remains with this, though, is where will this system track? Even if this shifts, this far to the east instead of where it's going right now, it could make a major difference to who sees snow and who sees rain. That's why I'm pretty reluctant to really give you any idea of how much snow you'll see with the system in specific areas. But if we do see snow out of this, and wherever it falls, we'll likely see upwards of 6 to 12 inches of snow in many areas. But again, where does that exactly happen is a question mark, because yesterday the European model was showing that snow would be over in the Ohio Valley, and now today it's back to showing it's going to be in the Midwest. So there's a lot of shifting with this storm. So stay tuned, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and we will keep you posted with this storm as it continues to evolve. But one thing to keep in mind as well going into Tuesday is that there will be some severe weather right along the Gulf Coast. There is a slight risk of severe weather for this, and that's what that looks like right now. So slight risk of severe weather for Monday, and then Tuesday there might be some severe weather still left over. That's from southeast Texas into parts of Florida. Now, in terms of snowfall accumulation across the central plains and then back into the northeast, this is what we're looking at for the next couple of days with that first initial storm that'll be moving here across the central plains. And notice right now the European model giving us an idea that we'll probably see at least 1 to 3 inches of snow across areas like Kansas, the Texas Panhandle, the Oklahoma Panhandle. But notice it doesn't go that far down to the south. So we're not talking about Oklahoma City, and we're also not talking about areas like Amarillo, really. Amarillo might see like a little bit of snow, but it probably wouldn't be much. Then back over into Arkansas, we might get a coating to a half an inch of snow in some areas, but I think that's a bit of a stretch overall. Coating would be more likely than anything. And then with that second storm, if we do see snow out of this, it would be bringing a lot more snow. Again, it depends on where this exactly falls, where the storm tracks, but again, we'd be talking upwards of 1 to 2 feet of snow in some areas, again, depending on the track of this storm. I can't stress that enough, because the smallest change to the east or west could change the complexion of where that snow falls and how heavy it is. In terms of the snowfall totals in the northeast, this is an early estimate, but going into Saturday into Sunday, notice there is a really solid chance that we're talking at least upwards of 4 to 10 inches of snow stretching from West Virginia back into southern New England. Some areas could pick up as much as 10 to 16 inches of snow, but again, it's still a little bit early. A few things could still change, so make sure you stay tuned to the channel. Make sure you're subscribed down below so you stay up to date with the latest on both of these storms. Thank you so much for watching.